Now let's look at restoring logs. In order to do a demonstration of restore, I need some backup files to restore from. I have several backups I've taken in the previous demonstrations, but I want to make sure I don't get confused about what's been backed up and what hasn't been backed up. So I'm going to take a fresh set of backups for this demonstration. I've created a new folder called log restore, and I'm going to put the backups there. In Management Studio, I'll open a new query, and I'll write the command to take a full backup of the database. It's just backup database, the name of the database, to disk, and the name of the file you would like to back up to. I'm calling mine Adventure Full, so I know it's the full backup of AdventureWorks. After that command, I'll put the keyword go to make sure that command is executed before the next command is started. And the next command will be the necessary steps to back up the log. So this time, instead of saying backup database, we say backup log. Again, for AdventureWorks, again, I say to disk and I give it a name. This time I'm calling it Adventure Log, so I'll be able to differentiate from the full backup. Go ahead and run those. And I see some success messages. Very good. Now we can get to restoring. I'll right-click on AdventureWorks, go to Task, go to Restore, and I have the option to restore the database. Notice that transaction log is grayed out. The database is not in a state right now where it's ready for a transaction log restore. We'll have to do the full database restore first, and then it'll be ready for a transaction log restore. So I'll go to Database. I want to restore from a device. I'll click on the three dots button, be able to select my file. I'll hit Add, and I'll go to the file I just made the backup, Adventure Full. Hit OK, OK again, and it gives me some information about what it's going to restore. So from here, I'll hit OK. I think we're going to get an error, but I want to show you what that error is. Over in the lower left, I see a big red X. And if I click on that, it says the restore of the database failed. And if we read the details, it says the log contains data that has not yet been backed up because we did not perform a tail log backup. It suggests some solutions. One would be to perform the tail log backup. The other is to use with replace. That will just overwrite the existing database. If you have transactions in the database that you don't want to lose, then the best thing to do would be to go ahead and perform the tail log backup. I know that's not the case for this database, so I'm going to use with replace. I do that by going to Options and clicking the checkbox next to overwrite the existing database. One other thing to note here is that the machine has defaulted to restore with recovery. It has an explanation of the consequences of doing that. The database will be moved online, and additional transaction logs cannot be restored. That's not what I want to do because, in fact, I do want to restore additional transaction logs. So in this drop-down, I'll change this to restore with no recovery, meaning the database will be put in a non-operational state, but additional transaction logs can be restored. So in order for me to be able to restore transaction logs after this full restore, the database cannot be brought online because we would have a problem if anyone tried to create a new transaction before we've restored all of the old transactions. So if you're doing a full recovery and you want to restore one or more transaction logs afterwards, you need to say restore with no recovery. I'll hit OK. And this says success. Very good. I'll hit OK again. We'll notice the AdventureWorks is now in the restoring state. I'll right-click, go to Task, go to Restore, and now transaction log is no longer grayed out. So I'll click on that. And I'll need to say where I'm restoring from. I'm restoring from a device. I'll right-click on the three dots button and select the file name I'm interested in. And that would be the AdventureWorks log. Hit OK twice. In the options, I have the same options as before. Rather than being in a drop-down, now they are in radio buttons. Restore with recovery, which will put the database online and not allow me to restore anything else. or restore with no recovery, which again would not put the database online, but would allow me to restore additional logs. For this demonstration, I have no additional logs after this to restore, so I'm going to stick with the default of restore with recovery. And I'll hit OK. AdventureWorks restored successfully. That is good. I come back here in Object Explorer and Management Studio, right-click and go to Refresh, and my database is back online. Seems to be working fine. Obviously, if you had multiple logs to restore, it might not be a whole lot of fun to go through the graphical interface for every step. It would be quicker to write some script to do this. So I'll do a quick demonstration of that now. I'll open up a new query. The basics for doing the full restore would be something like this. Restore database AdventureWorks 2014 from disk, and then give it the full path to where your backup file is located. Remember that we cannot be in the context of AdventureWorks 2014 when we do a restore on AdventureWorks 2014. So right before this command, I'll throw in the phrase use master. And also, as we saw with the graphical, we'll need to replace the existing database. And we'll need to specify no recovery so that we can do the next recovery. So I'll use the keyword with, the keyword replace, comma, no recovery. Notice no recovery is all one word. There isn't a space after the no. It's just no recovery all squished together. I can execute that. I got a message saying successful. And if I refresh the AdventureWorks, we see it is in the restoring state. So now I'll use the command to restore the log. That'll be very similar. Use master, restore log, AdventureWorks 2014 from disk, and then the full path to the file. If I had another log to do after this, I would need to specify with no recovery. But because this is the last log I'm restoring, I can use the default of with recovery. I click execute. I get a success message. I'll hit a refresh again. And it looks like things are good. We're back online.